Sully here, the retired tech reactor. Welcome to Transitions. Welcome to this special edition of Transitions. I have painfully avoided on this channel talking about politics and religion because they are extremely divisive subjects, and I'm trying to be inclusive. But there's something I cannot remain silent about. Now, if this offends you, take into consideration what it is I'm saying. In my previous video, I mentioned that I could not understand how a president of the United States can refer to dead war heroes as losers and military veterans, especially those who served in Vietnam, as suckers. My brother served in the United States Air Force during the Vietnam conflict. He was stationed in Thailand in 1973, and that's where he was when our mother passed away. This past week marked the anniversary of my brother's passing 11 years ago. And especially today, as we mark the 19th anniversary of the terrorist attack in New York City, in Shanksville, Pennsylvania, and in Washington, D.C. You know, that thing that everybody says never forget, and yet it seems a lot of people forget. A lot of good men and women went to war over those terrorist attacks. And thousands of them lost their lives in that defense of our liberty. We have a president who likes to wrap himself up in the flag and hide behind the Bible. And we have a lot of people in this country who apologize for his actions because they might happen to agree with him on certain things. Now, there are areas where I do agree with the president. I agree that we should take a strong position in international economic affairs. We should lead the nation, but we have to also understand that there is a quid pro quo when it comes to foreign trade. We don't always have to come out on top. We don't always have to be the winner. You know, international trade is for the benefit of humanity. It's not a dick measuring contest. But now let's talk about veterans. As I said, my brother served in the United States Air Force during the Vietnam conflict. He volunteered. He wasn't a sucker. My father volunteered during World War II to serve in the United States Navy. He was a CB. He was originally refused service because my father was colorblind. When the Navy created the construction battalion, they had a need for drivers, and my father at the time was a truck driver. Maybe something in my genes, I don't know. My father was allowed to join the construction battalion. He served in Kodiak, Alaska, and eventually saw action in Saipan and Okinawa. His brothers, Bernard and Daniel, volunteered for service in the United States Army. My mother's brother, my Uncle Joe, volunteered for the Army during the Korean conflict. They weren't suckers. They weren't losers. They all served with honor. And when they were laid to their final rest, they received an American flag. I myself tried to enlist in the United States Air Force. It was in 1975. The Vietnam conflict was pretty much over. And the United States military was actually downsizing, so their standards were a little bit higher. And because of my high blood pressure, I failed the physical. I was also a little overweight then. I've always had a weight problem in my life. But, you know, they used to say, well, if you're overweight and you join the military, they'll run that weight off of you. When my brother volunteered, the standards were lower. It was during the Vietnam conflict. They needed people. When I tried to join, they didn't need people so badly. Add to the fact that there was an economic recession going on, which at the time was the worst economic recession since the Great Depression. And a lot of people who couldn't find work were looking to the military. So they had to turn a lot of people away back then, and unfortunately I was one of them. I did want to serve my country. I always fantasized about being in the military. My father, with his romantic stories about the Navy, made a big impression on me as a young man. A little over a year ago, I visited the Washington's Crossing National Cemetery where my brother and his wife are buried. And all I saw was row and row and row and row and row after row after row after row of white marble headstones. People who unselfishly gave of themselves. Some went voluntarily, some didn't go voluntarily, but they all gave. And now they lay in a field of honor. There are national cemeteries across our nation where veterans and their family members, their spouses, lay in honor and glory. Mr. President, these people aren't suckers. These people aren't losers. They are veterans. I think you owe them an apology. For Transitions, I'm Sully, the retired tank anchor. Safe and happy travels.